Hello there. Today I want to show you a Jaeger-LeCoultre Master Geographic. That's a Jaeger-LeCoultre which is not a reverso. So this watch is from around about 2002, 38 millimeters in diameter. The reference number is a 142892S. It has a 38 joule automatic movement, which you can see over here, as this one has a display back. You can see it's quite nicely finished with a sort of a perlage, a circular perlage effect, and I think it's quite an attractive little movement and worth displaying. The watch itself has a black face, obviously, and there's quite a nice amount of relief and detail in the dial itself. You can see there's the three sub-dials on it, and the chapter ring has got an angled appearance to it as well, with some very nicely executed hour markers, which give the whole thing a really very crisp and cleanly executed appearance. The features on the face, we'll just run through them briefly. There's a power reserve meter over there at 11 o'clock. The power reserve on the watch is about 40 hours. You might say you don't really need a power reserve meter on an automatic watch, but I've got more automatic watches than I have watch winder places, and so I actually find this sort of useful. I can take this thing off the watch winder, replace it, put another automatic watch in its place, and I can just look at the power reserve meter to determine when it's time to put this thing back, rather than waiting for the second hand to stop or giving it a shake. The dial over at 2 o'clock is a date wheel. I must say I'm not a big fan of date wheels. As you get older, it gets a bit more difficult to see little details, and the numerals on these things are always quite small. So I mean, at the moment I'm in good light and I've got my glasses on, and I can see that it's halfway between 5 and 7, so it's reading the 6th, which is the correct date. Now, but the real action in terms of the complication of this watch is at 6 o'clock, and there you can see there's a second a clock face with an hour and minute hand. There we go, you can see those there now. And there's also a little indicator over at 9 o'clock, which at the moment is white, which just indicates whether that second time zone that's indicated is daytime or nighttime. The time zone is changed via the use of this chapter ring, which is mainly hidden, but there is a window down at the lower end of the dial, which shows the names of a number of cities across which are in different time zones, and that wheel is moved by the crown up here at 11 o'clock, and what we'll do is we'll start rotating it, and you'll see that the little hour hand moves around to these different time zones in these different cities. Now, so at the moment I've got the watch set such that the time zone, when I've got this second time zone set to Sydney, it is set to summertime here in Sydney. That is, it's daylight savings time at the moment here in Australia, and that is actually one of the problems with this whole method of displaying a second time zone, and that is when we move around. We'll go around to London GMT, and so there you can see that that little indicator at 9 o'clock has gone to a dark blue colour, indicating that it's night time there, and the time it's displaying is roughly 8 minutes to 2 in the morning, because it's obviously dark indicated by that the blue indicator at 9 o'clock. Now the problem here is that isn't the time in London. The time in London is actually an hour behind that, and that's because I've got this watch set to Sydney's daylight savings time. So if I was to be travelling, if I wanted to just use the watch here at home and know what the time was in the northern hemisphere where it's winter and you don't have daylight saving, I really need to adjust the hour hand on this subdial here to be an hour behind what it's currently indicating. So that's done by pulling out the crown. There's two positions on the crown, and the first position, if I can get to it, there we go. The first position adjusts just that time zone. So if I wanted to go to London time, I'd have to go back there, and then now it should be displaying the correct time in the northern hemisphere, in northern hemisphere time zones. Anyway, so but when I come back to Sydney, now obviously it's reading an hour behind, that's Eastern Standard Time here in Australia, not Eastern Summer Time as we're currently running on. Anyway, that's really the major drawback with this particular system. You need to know, whether the time zones you're interested in are in daylight saving or not. But once you overcome that, I still think it's a fairly nifty little means of displaying a second time zone. Now, so this watch normally comes, or used to come with a leather strap and a deployment clasp. The fellow who owned us before me has gone to the great expense of purchasing this Jaeger-LeCoultre steel bracelet, which I think the watch actually looks better on the leather strap myself. But if you're living in a humid and hot climate as I do, I find this bracelet really very practical. It's very supple and comfortable, and I'm quite glad that this extra expense was incurred by the previous owner of this watch. So it's a little bit difficult to stretch around the camera here, but that's what the thing looks like on the wrist. It's one of my favourite watches. It has enough refinement, and it's not loud and large enough to be a problem if you're wearing it with a business suit, but it also has a more casual edge to it as well. I think it's quite a versatile little piece. Anyway, I'm sorry I didn't include any cats or girlfriends in this watch video, but hope you've found it informative, if nothing else, and I'll see you later. Bye.